In a train crash that took 45 lives, one NBA star braced for impact, expecting the worst. Meanwhile, another faced death differently, surviving after being stabbed 11 times. These are true stories of NBA players who nearly died. 8 years had passed, but Nik Vucevic couldn't forget that fateful January 23rd. He was just a young kid with hoop dreams, riding a train home from a basketball camp in Colossian with his dad. Their hearts were light, their spirits high. Life was good. But then, the faces of the train workers twisted with worry, and a heavy sense of doom filled the air. Out of nowhere, the train turned into a mad beast, tearing through the mountains like it was shot out of a cannon. People screamed, held onto their seats, and prayed. Vucevic would never forget those chilling words when the conductor said, "Brace for impact." There was no stopping it now. With a terrible noise, the train jumped off the tracks. The first car, where Nik and his dad sat, rolled and smashed into the side of a tunnel. It tumbled down a hill before finally stopping right side up. Nik woke up confused, his shoulders sore and cuts all over him. The first face he saw was his dad, who was already helping people out of the wreck. They were just a few scary feet away from a 100-foot drop into the Maraca River, a fall nobody would have lived through. They helped pull people from the wrecked train, some alive, some not. On that awful day, 45 people died. One of them was a basketball player, just like Nik, a kid with big dreams, gone way too soon. Nik and his teammates wanted to say goodbye, to stand by his grave and honor him, but the coaches shook their head. It's too much, too hard for you guys. Every year when January 23rd shows up on the calendar, or whenever he hears the far-off sound of a train, Nik's heart pauses. He's back there, in that moment, feeling it all over again. The fear, the relief, the sorrow for those who didn't make it. Nowadays, some players seem to take a break for the smallest reasons. A little headache or a tummy ache and they're out for 2 weeks. But our next story is about resilience on an entirely different level. Paul Pierce, a rising basketball star, was out on the town, enjoying a night with friends. The atmosphere was electric, laughter and music filled the air. But then, in a split second, everything changed. Out of nowhere, chaos erupted. Paul found himself surrounded, and before he could react, he was stabbed once, twice, 11 times. Rushed to the hospital, Paul's life hung by a thread. As the medical team scrambled, doing everything they could to save him, the news spread like wildfire. Fans, teammates, the whole country. It was like everyone was holding their breath. The guy who was supposed to light up the courts was now fighting just to see another day. Days turned into weeks. Paul was sidelined, recovering both body and spirit. He was down, but not out. You see, while his physical wounds were healing, something else was happening. Inside, a fire was burning brighter than ever. The same hands that had gripped a basketball now clenched with a different kind of determination. And then, the comeback of a lifetime. Paul Pierce doesn't just return to the court. He owned it. He played all 82 games that season, as if challenging life itself. Is that all you got? Every slam dunk, every three-pointer, every victory lap around the court is a shout in the face of that night. The guy who was nearly taken from the world is now taking the world by storm. So when Paul hears about the struggles of other players, like Nik Vucevic's horrific train accident, he nods. He knows all about life's cruel twists and hard fouls. But most of all, he knows that when you're down, you're not out. Not if you've got the heart of a champion. In the early 1990s, the NBA was a different world. A rough, wild place where tempers flared and fists often flew. Back then, brawls weren't just shoving matches. They were full-blown fights. The clock ticked down on a heated game between the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Fans roared and players sweated, but nobody knew the night was about to take a dark turn. One that would forever change the NBA. In the heat of the moment, a scuffle broke out. Players from both teams shoved, trying to gain the upper hand. Then, out of nowhere, Kermit Washington of the Lakers swung his fist with all his power. It landed square on the face of Rudy Tomjanovich from the Rockets. The crowd gasped. Rudy dropped like a stone, hitting the floor hard. Blood gushed from his face. The impact was so severe that it cracked his skull, broke his jaw and nose, and caused spinal fluid to leak. The whole arena froze. People who were there said you could hear Rudy's skull fracture from the stands. Rushed to the hospital, Rudy's life hung in the balance. Doctors worked frantically, unsure if he would even survive the night. but Rudy was a fighter. After surgeries and what felt like a lifetime in recovery, he came back to life and eventually returned to the game he loved, even coaching teams to championships. As for Kermit, he got off with just a $10,000 fine and a 60-day suspension. For nearly killing a man? That's ridiculous. His career never recovered, forever haunted by that one punch. Rudy survived against all odds, but for the next player, fate wasn't as kind. He didn't make it. The hospital monitor had flatlined. The line went straight, signaling the unthinkable. The player was gone. But just as everyone had braced for the worst, a miracle happened. The line jumped back to life, and so did he. It was stories like these that reminded people of Lamar Odom, a player who had also been given a second chance. The lights of Las Vegas glimmered in the distance as Lamar Odom entered a world far removed from the basketball courts that made him famous. It was 2015, and he had been at a low point, drowning his sorrows and mistakes in a place where many went to escape reality. Within days, he had been discovered unconscious, the victim of a drug overdose. Rushed to the hospital, Lamar had been clinging to life. Machines had beeped and doctors had hurried, their faces grim. His friends and family had gathered, holding their breath, praying for a miracle. His life had been a roller coaster, a mix of fame, fortune, and personal troubles. But this was almost the end. His vital organs had been failing, and the word coma had echoed throughout the hospital halls. The man who had once dominated the court with skill and grace had been in the fight for his life, far from the cheers and the slam dunks. After a couple of weeks, slowly Lamar's condition improved. Though the road ahead was filled with rehab, both physical and emotional, he woke up from the dead, literally. His survival had been nothing short of miraculous, a testament to his enduring spirit and the medical team that had refused to give up. Today, Lamar Odom's journey is one of redemption and recovery. He may never dribble a basketball in a pro game again, but he's conquered challenges far greater than any opponent he faced on the court. Let's switch lighten the mood, because you're not gonna believe this one. Ever almost been killed by a fish? No? Well, Nick Young, aka Swaggy P, has a different story. This isn't your run-of-the-mill ocean scare with a great white shark or a venomous jellyfish. Nah, we're talking about an encounter with a dolphin. Swaggy P was chilling in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico with his then-girlfriend, the rapper Iggy Azalea. They're having a good time, sun, sea, and all that jazz. The place is known for its beautiful beaches and, yes, its friendly dolphins. So they decide, why not give dolphin riding a try? He's got a front row seat to the show, watching as family after family takes turns hopping onto the dolphin's back for a swim. Finally, it's Nick's turn. The 6'7" basketball star confidently strides into the water, eager to experience this bucket list item. As he settles onto the dolphin, ready for his Instagram-worthy moment, something shifts. The dolphin's body tenses, and in a heartbeat, it's as if a switch flips. With a powerful thrust of its tail, the dolphin plunges downward like a torpedo. This isn't just a dive, it's a DEFCON 1 Code Red situation. As if fueled by some ancient sea grudge, the dolphin speeds toward the ocean floor, pulling Nick along for this unwanted adventure. Just when it seems like he'll be part of a deep-sea exploration he never signed up for, Nick starts screaming, "He's trying to kill me!" As he zooms up, he rips off his life vest. His heart was pounding like crazy. The moment he bursts out of the water and races to the beach, he knows he's just dodged something way wilder than a bullet. He's escaped a dolphin gone wild. We've heard some wild stories today. Now it's your turn. Ever had a near-death experience or a close call? Share it in the comments. We're all ears and always here to support. Until next time, goodbye.